So in Australia and in Spain, it's more about enjoying your life and working not as hard. So you're working to live, whereas in a country like US or Singapore, it's the other way around. You're living to work. When I first moved to the US, I was working sometimes to 1, 2 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Sometimes sleeping in the office.
You can notice that the system is more flexible because if you have some overstay or something like that, the penalty is not as strong as it would be in Australia or in the US where you are forbidden forever.
Yeah, deported. And
you are put into the blacklist, and that's it. That's the end of your story.
Europe is just a market or also a provider, you know?
I mean, here with the company I'm working for now, we're doing some good amount of work with the university, and it's doing things with AI and doing things with the products that we're building. So I think technologically, the knowledge base here is very good. I wouldn't say Europe is just a carrier, or I would say they're contributing to the technology of the world.
The US invents something, China copies, you know, and Europe makes regulation.
Europe is definitely suffocating, I would say, some of the big businesses, and with the regulations, like Apple is always in trouble, Google is always in trouble with the European regulators. So yeah, I think they need to, like you said, they need to relax a bit.
Hello guys, welcome to this new chapter of Beyond Borders podcast. Bienvenidos a todos. Este podcast va a ser en inglés porque nuestro invitado especial es en la lengua que mejor se desenvuelve, así que voy a presentároslo. Hi Craig, how are you doing?
Good, thanks, how are you?
Thanks for coming with us and thanks for sharing your experience with our people. First of all, I would like to give you the opportunity so you can introduce yourself and tell us about you a little bit, you know, where you were born and how did you end up in Spain?
Okay.
You know?
So I had a long journey to Spain. I was born in Australia. I moved from Australia in the year 2000, actually, before the Sydney Olympics, to the US. I moved to New York. I was living in New York for 13 years. And I moved from New York then to Miami. I was in Miami off and on for 6 years. And so during that 6 years, I lived in Singapore, worked in Singapore, and then also in Guatemala City.
Wow.
And then in 2019, like right before COVID, I moved to Spain. I've been in Zaragoza since then, but I do travel a lot for work. So.
Wow, amazing. Yeah. You have been living in a lot of different places, right?
Different places, right. Yep.
What a great experience. So, as per your experience, after living in so many different places and continents and countries, please tell us more about the differences between Europe, Asia, Australia, and the US. Because
there's some big differences.
Yeah.
So I would say the biggest point, I think, that Australia is similar to Spain is the work life. Mm-hmm. So in Australia and in Spain, it's more about enjoying your life and working not as hard. So you're working to live, whereas in a country like in the US or Singapore, it's the other way around. You're living to work. Everything is about work. You're working hard. You're working long hours, whereas in Spain, the lifestyle is similar to Australian lifestyle. So it's a lot of outdoors. You leave work at 6 p.m. You get time to relax with your family. You go out on weekends, whereas in the US particularly, it's a lot different. It's all about work. When I first moved to the US, I was working sometimes to 1, 2 a.m. in the morning.
Wow.
Sometimes sleeping in the office. Whereas in Spain and in Australia, it's much more relaxed, which is a good thing.
Okay, very nice.
Singapore is sort of in between. Singapore, the people work hard as well, but they have a bit better life than in the US. It's more relaxed. It's more family life. Singapore is an amazing country. The culture, the people, the food is really good. So, but the US is good too. I mean, I lived in New York for 13 years. New York is a fun place. Miami is more relaxed, but Spain for me is similar to Australia.
Okay, so it would be like a second home out from home, right?
Sure. Yeah, it can be.
And what about Singapore? Because I remember once we were working with a Singapore law firm because some company was sending employees to there. And I was amazed by the immigration system they have because it's like super demanding. The requirements are huge and all the formalities and the feeling from Spain was like everything was monitored, and super under control.
Right. In Singapore, the government is very cognizant of their people. So they want to give their people the jobs first. They want to give their people a better life. So they're very strict on who they allow into the country. As you said, they monitor. When you get a work visa, it only lasts for 1 year. Then you have to go through the whole process to renew again. So they're very, very demanding of people that they want to move to Singapore.
And what about this, how do you say, this prohibition of the chewing gum? Is that true?
I think that is true, yeah. I think that is true, yeah.
Because it's something that when I was at school and the teacher told us, you know,
right.
Oh, in Singapore it's forbidden and this should be forbidden here too.
Right. There was a case, I think, a few years ago, actually probably many years ago, where I think it was an American kid was caught throwing chewing gum on the ground, and they wanted to flog him, like whip him. That was the punishment. But I don't think they ever followed through with it, but it was
they are really
they used him as
strict.
an example, yeah. But if you do get a Singapore visa, the expats make a lot of money. So the expats that are in Singapore are very wealthy, but it's very expensive for expats.
Yeah, I think now that part of the world is like improving and growing a lot.
Right.
And it's true.
And with the issues with Hong Kong being taken over by the Chinese again, a lot of businesses are moving to Singapore. So Singapore is turning into the hub for business in Asia.
It's true. It's true. Okay, thanks for this. Thanks for sharing this experience. And what about Australia and your roots there? Where you were born?
I was born in Sydney, near the Blue Mountains. So it's actually a town probably maybe half the size of Zaragoza. Sydney is not, but the town that I was born in. Yeah, Sydney is I think a population similar to Madrid. I think.
Okay, big city.
Yeah, big city, right? And so I grew up there. I went to college there, and like I said, I left there in 2000. I hadn't traveled much up until that time, but then once I moved to the US, then I started to do a lot of traveling. Then I switched jobs a couple of times, and then the last job I had in the US before I moved to Spain, I did a lot of traveling. I was actually the head of implementation in Asia. So I got to go to all over Asia. I went to Sri Lanka, I went to India, I went to many countries, Cambodia, Laos, all over.
All over the world.
Yeah.
So your passport is full of stamps.
It is. I had to get a new one. So. Right.
Okay, and what about your the stage at the United States of America? I mean, you mentioned that you were in New York for a while, and then you moved to Miami.
Right.
They said that it is very, very different. You know.
Very different. Yeah. I think they say Miami is the capital of Latin America.
Yeah.
And they say 70% of the people in Miami speak Spanish. And there was often stores or places I would go in Miami that they wouldn't speak English at all.
Really?
Yeah, a lot of like stores and laundries. And
you already studied some Spanish, right?
A little bit, yeah. And then when I moved to Guatemala City, I had to learn a bit more again. Because Guatemala City is...
and what about Guatemala City? Because that's also a huge change in your life, no?
It was, yeah. It's a beautiful place. The country is, like the scenery is beautiful, the people are nice, the weather is amazing. But they have the social issues, which is a problem with the drugs and the gangs, and
security,
so it's not very safe. Yeah, it's not safe.
It's not safe.
I lived in one of the better zones in the city, but the people from the office wouldn't let me go even for a walk down the street without coming with me in case something happened.
Wow.
Because it was always a threat that you would get kidnapped.
So the
or something.
feeling is you felt unsecure there.
I felt okay. I never ever had a problem,
Okay.
but yeah, that's always hanging over your head. But if you go outside of Guatemala City, then to Antigua or to Panajachel, it's beautiful. And like I said, the food is good, the people are nice, the weather is amazing.
They
but
say
it's just,
the nature and so on, it's amazing, you know. I've never been there yet.
Right.
Okay.
Panajachel is a city on a lake, a big lake called Atitlan, and there's just a bunch of volcanoes around the lake.
Wow.
And it's just amazing.
It must be beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, so now as per your life in Spain, how is it going? What do you like, and how was your cultural adaptation to this country, or if you feel integrated?
So this is my second time living in Spain. I lived in Spain in 2013. I worked with a different company, and I used to live in Huesca. So I lived in Huesca for I think it was about 8 months.
Wow.
So Huesca is an interesting place.
Yes,
it's very,
it
very
is.
small, but the food was amazing there. The restaurants are really good. And then I left and went to a different company, and then now I'm back.
Wow, amazing. From Sydney to Huesca.
To Huesca, right? Yeah. Actually, Huesca, for the size of it and for what it was, I thought it was actually pretty good.
What do you think about the communications, if it is well connected to the rest of the country or not, Huesca?
Maybe not. Maybe it's a little bit isolated. But with the AVE train there, it links up with Madrid and...
Yeah, that's why I was asking, because it is a very small place, but with the high-speed train, they say that it is pretty well connected. Obviously, it's not as, there are not so many trains per day as they are with Madrid and Barcelona or even Zaragoza, but it is well connected, at least from our Spanish perspective.
Sure. Yeah. And they have San Lorenzo there too, which is fun. Yeah.
Did you go to the San Lorenzo festivities?
I've been twice. Once when I lived there and once since I've been living here.
And did you wear the...
Oh, of course. Yeah. You have to, don't you?
Yeah, you have to.
It's the law.
Definitely.
Right.
Okay, really nice to know about this part of your story. I didn't know yet.
And so I've been here since 2019, but then with COVID, I was actually in the US when the COVID lockdowns hit. So then I didn't come back here for 11 months. I got locked out for 11 months from coming back to Spain.
Yeah.
So I came back in January, I think 2021 maybe.
Well, I think so.
And so everything seemed to be the same. Nothing. Actually, I did notice a lot of store closings though here after COVID. When I walked up and down Cayo Afonso, there was lots of stores shut, which doesn't seem to have recovered, which is unfortunate.
Yeah, and some people just retired, and there were no other ones taking over the business.
The businesses, right?
Yeah, that's a pity, but it is how it looks like now. This city. And so then you came to Zaragoza, and what do you think about this city, and how are you enjoying it?
The city's nice. It's very nice. It's very compact, I would say, as well. I mean, I do try to walk around a lot and visit some of the different areas, but it seems like the heart of the city is around here in Centro, downtown. That's where all the action happens, and everybody, it seems on Friday and Saturday nights, everybody comes from the rest of the city downtown, because there's always lots of people around. But yeah, it's a nice city, the tram is good, so there's not so many cars on the road, so it's very eco-friendly, which is another good thing.
Yeah, that's true. And do you feel forced to use Spanish sometimes? Or
sometimes, yes, but I can get by my Spanish, even though I've lived in Guatemala and now here. It's not great, but
you can manage.
I can manage, right? Yeah, people try to help you, so that's a good thing.
Yeah, and do you think that this region, and I'm talking about Huesca and Zaragoza, has become more international during the past years? Or
I think a little bit, yeah. I see more Asian people around on the streets here in Zaragoza, so I think that's to do with the university. I think they have a Confucian school there or something. But yeah, I think you see more tourists. I assume they're
because
tourists.
my feeling is the same. We have been working with this kind of legal procedures, international legal procedures, and people coming and going from Spain. And our feeling is like in the last 10 years, the evolution has been great, because at the beginning it was really weird to hear someone speaking in different languages at the street.
Right.
And now you go through Paseo Independencia and you can hear French, English, and Arab, a lot of different languages, and I think that's pretty cool because
it is good,
it was more concentrated in Madrid and Barcelona, and now I think it's arriving to the whole Spanish territory.
Right.
Well, we don't know if a small village in Huesca
maybe not,
will get it or not, but at least to Huesca it arrived.
I'm not sure if they've ever had an Australian live there since I left.
Yeah, it's not that common to have someone from Australia.
I haven't met somebody here yet. So
no, we have people from New Zealand.
All right.
But from Australia, I think you are the only one, at least in Zaragoza for sure. And in the rest of the country, maybe one or two. And normally they are professionals working in Spain because of professional reasons, or relatives of Spanish people who went to Australia and they got married or something like that.
Right.
But from our perspective, going to Australia and the immigration system in Australia is very difficult. Or at least it's famous because, again, as it happened, as we were discussing about Singapore, it's like a very strong system with, like a lot of requirements, and they are like super strict.
Very strict, right. They're not. I mean, I think it's opening up a bit more, but it's always been hard to immigrate to Australia.
Yeah.
In the 70s, I think there was it was called the White Australia policy, and they weren't allowing any non-white people, so it was only like Western European people and Eastern Europeans, but no people from from Africa or a place like that. It was and even Asia as well, which was the policy. But then the government changed, and then the policy changed, and that's when they had a big influx of Asian people. And then now it's open for everybody. But like you said, it's still very difficult.
It's open for anyone, but they
Only the ones
need
they
to
choose.
comply with a lot of different requirements, and they are very, very demanding.
Right.
No, but when we talk with clients and they explain us the system from their home countries and so on, and we talk about the Spanish one, I think the Spanish one is more flexible.
Yep, sure.
You know, it's like, I don't know if it is because of I don't know if it is the human rights policy or whatever they are applying here, but you can notice that the system is more flexible because if you have some overstay or something like that, the penalty is not as strong as it would be in Australia or in the US, where you are forbidden forever.
Yeah, deported. And
you are put into the blacklist, and that's it. That's the end of your story.
Right. Yep.
You know, really interesting. Okay, so now tell me about your life in Spain as a tourist. Did you have the chance to visit more cities or to do some tourist? You know, not only Spain but also Europe, because with your resident permit in Spain, you can visit the whole European territory. So.
Right. Yep. So I did more traveling around Spain when I was here in 2013. At least once a month I would take the AVE somewhere. So I visited, down south to Sevilla, to Valencia, I've been to Granada. I've been up north to San Sebastian, which I really like, Bilbao. So I've been over a lot of Spain, and then just recently I've been starting to use the airport there at Zaragoza to fly to Europe. So I've been to London a few times. I was there a couple of weeks ago. I'm supposed to go to Belgium in 2 weeks.
Charleroi.
Yep, right.
That's the one I was taking when I was studying in Belgium.
It's not even really Belgium. It's right close to the border, and it's a long way.
Yes, I was taking the bus to Leuven, and it was like 1 hour and a half or something like that. You know, it was longer than the flight.
Yeah, right. Exactly, right. Yeah. And then a couple of months ago, I went to Marrakesh. So that was interesting as well. I've never been there, so it was nice.
Oh, nice.
So I try and travel around Europe as much as I can now, especially now a bit more with using the airport there in Zaragoza. So that's a good thing.
Great. And what do you think about the south of Spain and the north of Spain? Do you think they are really that different or not?
The weather, definitely. But
the weather is.
And the food is very different as well. The people down south seem nicer, I think, than the people up north.
Like more open.
Right? Yeah. If you're lost on the street, they'll help you if you ask. Whereas in Zaragoza, San Sebastian, place like that, it's a bit more difficult.
They look like close,
very close
society,
right. For sure.
Yeah, but it is the same for us,
When you go there,
when we go there, you can notice. But if you start talking with them, they are super nice as well. But like the feeling or the look and feel is like, don't ask me anything. In the south, I think they are more open or willing for you to ask them whatever you need to. Okay.
Yep.
Very nice. Okay, Craig. So now tell us more about your favorite places in town, or what do you like the most about this wonderful city where we are living?
Right. Some of the restaurants I like to go to is Meli Mello.
Oh, I love that
Playa
one.
Mayor, and then there's another one called Garnet, which is near Parque Burril, which is another good one. I like to walk around a lot, so I try and explore the city and see see what I can see. So I usually now have a bit of a walking track for weekends where I walk up Gran Via up to the canals, where those canals cross the street. And so then I walk down the canals, then past Parque Burril Parque Grande.
Yeah.
And then further down and try and explore some of these other neighborhoods and see places that I haven't seen before. So El Tubo, of course, is good, but it's always too crowded. But there's a lot of good restaurants and bars off the beaten track that you can find. Some even over near Delicias, the train station.
Yes.
I've been over there. There's a couple of good places. But those are probably my two favorites. Also, Bula.
Yeah, Bula.
The restaurant is very good in Sagasta.
Yeah.
So maybe I always go to the popular places. It sounds like.
No. It's I go to the same places. I mean, I love them.
Yep.
Actually, Meli Mello, I think it's one of my favorite places in town, with no doubt. The problem is that it's always crowded,
always. Yeah.
Especially now with this nice terrace they have, and with this nice weather we are experimenting these days. It's like, okay, let's go there, but everyone thinks about the same.
Right. Yeah, sure. Yeah.
And you end up queuing there for a while.
Exactly right. Yeah. The food is very good here.
And what do you think about the riverside?
It's nice. Yeah, I've walked on both sides. Yeah, it's nice. It's I've walked to the mall. The Gran Casa.
Gran Casa.
So I've walked around there. I've walked to Puerto Venecia a couple of times as well.
Really?
Just to take a look. I usually walk and then catch the bus back. It's a nice walk over that way.
Oh, actually, a nice walk. It must take time.
Takes a while. Yeah, 1 hour, I think. It's about 1 hour.
Yeah, and it's uphill.
And it's uphill, right?
Yeah, it's uphill. Yeah. So that's good exercise.
Yeah, it is
for your body.
Right. And the river is beautiful as well. Yeah. I had visitors here about a month ago from London, my 2 cousins. And we walked around the river and went to a few restaurants, and they said it was a beautiful city.
Great. And what would you miss in this town for it to be better? You know, if something like some people, they say more international flights, for instance.
Definitely.
You know? Or other people, they say, we think the international atmosphere is not that good, so we don't feel kind of at home, you know, like, I don't know. What
I would agree with that, yeah. I think it's being an international, I think probably in Barcelona and Madrid is probably more welcoming. Mm-hmm. But here is welcoming, but it's just not as you said, not as international, so there's not as many, it's hard to say, not as many activities or anything you could do as an international person. Especially if I came here, alone, not knowing anybody. So, I knew my workmates, of course, but it's in that respect, it's sort of a little bit hard to get to know other people. You have to sort of try and go to bars or whatever and see
it's true.
Try and find somebody to talk to if they speak English. So that's a bit more difficult. And then the flights, like you said, definitely need more.
Yeah, that will help also, you know.
Right.
But the other part, I think the authorities should do something about it, you know. I've heard that in Madrid or Barcelona, there are like some activities organized by the authorities, and they are some of them are even called Welcome Week, International Welcome Week or something like that. And I would love to have something like that in Zaragoza, because it breaks my heart when some client tell me I'm looking for another place. Because here I don't feel, I feel welcome, but but it's hard for me to make new friends and so on because because I'm not speaking Spanish yet or whatever, and I think that's something we should definitely improve, if we want to attract more people, because I think this place is great for living, because as you said, it's compact, very nice restaurants, very nice atmosphere. The weather is not the best one in Spain, but people will be, but people will be, how do you say, surprised, because it's not that bad either. You know, my wife was living in the UK, and she's from the Canary Islands. So the weather there is really, really good. Yeah. But when she came here, she said, it's not that bad. At least I can see the sun. It's sunny, and sometimes it's super windy, but that's not that often. Yeah. But Australia must be windy as well at some.
Windy,
at the
not
coast,
so much, but it gets hot like here. The heat is very
similar.
In the middle of summer, it can be 45 degrees, 44 degrees Celsius, so it's super hot. But the winter is more mild than here. But it's not so much wind.
And have you ever visited the mountains here?
I went a few times, I drove into the Pyrenees. Mm-hmm. My mother visited a couple of years ago, so I rented a car from here and we did a big loop and went into France, into the Pyrenees, and then came back down through Barcelona. So it's beautiful up there too. Yeah,
it's a nice area. I like it a lot. Okay, thank you, Craig. I think that's my part, right?
Hi, Craig. Thank you.
Sure.
I would like to know, because as a high worker profile in the telecom industry, I'm really interested in your insights about the technology thing, in the whole world, and what's the role Europe is playing, and what's the difference between Europe, Africa, the US, Australia, Middle East, I want to know in very general terms about it.
So most of the jobs I've had were international jobs. So I was working with no matter where I was, working with companies from different countries or different continents. And so I think I guess the US and Asia, like particularly Japan, is probably most advanced. But then Spain, Europe is up there as well, along with Australia. Africa, of course, the technology and stuff it's starting to catch up. Or not catching up, but starting to move forward. But it's definitely not at the same level. There's no 5G in Africa. It's 3G, 4G if they're very, very lucky.
I know.
But the world is starting to become a smaller place. So I think the technology is starting to leak into those countries that don't have the highest level of technology, like the Europe and US. So I think things are starting to open up. The world is starting to get, like as I said, get smaller, and I think the technology is starting to infiltrate these countries that don't actually have the infrastructure or the technology to be as advanced as where the other countries are.
Yeah, because, well, my question is, if Europe is just a market or also a provider,
Right. I would say, it's hard to say. I mean, here with the company I'm working for now, we're doing some good amount of work with the university, and it's doing things with AI and doing things with the other products that we're building. So I think technologically, the knowledge base here is very good. In Zaragoza, it's very strong. I think Zaragoza has a very good reputation for the university and for the technological faculty. So, and we're doing a lot of good work with them. So I think I wouldn't say Europe is just a carrier, or I would say they're contributing to the technology of the world.
That's nice. Yeah, we think that we in Europe are just a little bit, or we are going slower than in the US and obviously in China, And sometimes I have the sensation that we are just a market, right? Just for enjoying, and buying products, But I know from the telecom industry perspective, we are contributing for many, many things, and we are very in front of the development, right? So we have to be proud of this, and you are
definitely.
part of this, change.
Right.
So,
as you said, Europe is catching up to the US and countries like that. I mean, it's not there yet, but yeah, there's definitely inroads being made by, for example, the universities here to contribute to the technology needed and the advancement in telecommunications.
Yeah, because telecommunications are changing because they are becoming a multi-product companies. They are developing very big, enterprises, because they sell everything, almost everything, platforms, CPaaS, SaaS, wherever.
Everything,
And what do you forecast for, the future? They will become more powerful or not?
You hear different things. There's going to be new technology coming out that's going to do away with SMS or do away with, one of the different branches that we have in telecommunications, but it's very hard to tell because those sorts of advancements, they're kept secret. So you never know what's going to come out of China or the US for that matter. So, but I'm not sure. It's difficult to say.
It's difficult, because I think the roots of technology and telecoms are very powerful, and it is a matter of fact. I think the more powerful they are, the more they sell, because the platform is just, is like it controls everything, right? And it's fascinating. I think the business here is platforms, and it's very, very interesting. And I know you are working on that, and you guys are doing such a great job. And
the company that can come up with the platform that operates all of the different businesses, like the SMS and the cloud numbering and the voice together, is going to have a good time in the market, because that's, I think, what a lot of these telecom companies now are looking for, because to buy a voice platform or to buy an SMS platform or a cloud numbering platform is expensive. As the margins that these guys are making is getting squeezed all the time, they need to save money. And one of the ways to save money is to get a fully integrated platform. So I think that's one of the ways that we're pushing to try and get ahead of the game for that, because then you'll see a lot of demand from the telecom companies to buy something like that, because like I said, their margins are being squeezed all the time and they're not making as much money as they used to, and they need to find a way.
But and also I want to know when it comes to law, we are lawyers. We are not that happy.
Right.
We are in the dark side.
Right, definitely. Yeah.
But I was attending to to a congress with my brother in Paris in 2021 with software developers, and Macron did a speech, and said something like, the US invents something, China copies, and Europe makes regulation.
Right.
How do you see the bureaucratic environment here in Europe? I think it is very, it's very disappointing for a business point of view, right? Because is that necessary? It needs to be open again, Some days ago, the Telefonica chairman, Payete, said something like, there's need to deregulate telecommunication because it's bothering the operators and the market, and for the customer is worse.
Right. Yeah.
What do you think about
definitely,
it?
Yeah, Europe is definitely suffocating, I would say, some of the big businesses, and with the regulations, like Apple is always in trouble, Google is always in trouble with the European regulators. So yeah, I think they need to, like you said, they need to relax a bit to be more like the US. Because when the regulations are relaxed, then it harbors more innovation, more invention, so people can open to building different things and know that they're not going to get regulated out of the business or their product be closed down because there's too many regulations. So
yeah, definitely.
I guess it's a function of the European Union. I think they need to get together and show that they're big and strong. So they try and clamp down on some of these different companies and different industries, and telecommunications is one of them.
Yeah, I think we are good at making laws,
Yeah.
Historically, Europe is good in doing that, but sometimes it is very disappointing and it hurts the business, right? It's not good for the people and for everyone. We are not proud about it, even though we are lawyers, and we live
You get paid
dealing
for
with
those.
that sort of thing, right? Okay, great.
I think some of the laws, like the Roam Like Home, I think it's called, that the roaming all through Europe, that's a good law.
Yeah, that's
a good thing.
Wow.
I mean, as a user, as a person that makes phone calls and travels, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
Some of the other regulations, are just too much.
But there are several and important differences between the US regulation and Europe regulation. For example, when it comes to the GDPR data protection, the US is not considered a safe country in terms of data protection.
Yeah, right.
Well, I think it's crazy, because we are dealing with companies from the US, from China, and sometimes they ask us, well, guys, you are driving us crazy, because you are saying that GDPR, but we don't care about data protection so deeply,
Yeah.
What do you think? They are copying us or not?
I think the US is starting to get a bit more strict with that sort of thing. We just did an RFP for T-Mobile, and they had a whole bunch of different regulations or different certifications that they were asking for. Things, I mean, all different types of things, even things not even to do with, like things to do with disabilities and, do we have some disabled people working with us, or do we have an open policy for that sort of thing, and discrimination, age discrimination. So I think the US is starting to move that way. The bigger companies like a T-Mobile are starting to move that way, and then they were talking a lot about data protection and things like that. Maybe not as strict as Europe, but it's definitely heading that way. And with the US domestic market now too, they're getting very serious about the robocalling.
Yeah.
So there's a whole bunch of new legislation that's been put in, new regulations to stop these people from generating calls and bothering people with these fake calls, things like that. So they're getting very strict with that. So I think the US is moving towards Europe. Maybe Europe needs to move back towards the US, and somewhere in the middle might be the best place.
Yeah, very interesting. I think the telecom market is, as an international one, I think is fascinating. It's challenging as well. Because there's no a global applicable law. And the manner in which the different countries coordinate these things is fascinating. It's incredible. I'm in love with that but I am also in a trouble, because no one knows about everything, Okay, so in terms of business, I think there are many differences between the Spanish businessman and the US businessman, right? Or Australian or African or, German. I think that some people told us that the Spanish people is more brave,
Brave?
I've been told.
Okay.
Also the American, but what are the differences you see between those profiles, or in general? If you see some differences, because the Latin people are, something different.
Right.
The good things that have the two profiles.
I don't know. I haven't noticed they're more brave. That's not a word I would use. It's like I mentioned to Alvaro, I think before. It's the big difference I see is the work ethic, I guess.
Yeah.
The work to live or live to work. So in Spain, it's all about living your life, and you work to be able to live the life you want to live. So I think the Spanish way of working is not as busy and not as intense as it is in like the US, because the US, it's all about making money.
Yeah.
And then with that money, then maybe I can live. Whereas it's the opposite here, here is better. That ideal is better. It's better for the workers. Like I said, the people from the university that we're working with, there's some very bright people, very smart people here in Zaragoza, and in Spain in general, I'm sure. But differences, I don't know, it's not that much of a difference.
Well, maybe it's something cultural, right? Because
so.
they are more engaged to success, Here in Spain, we are more...
Live a happy life.
Yeah, we are more comfortable,
right.
Or the majority, but
sure.
I really admire the US people because they are always pushing hard,
Right.
Or maybe in general,
Yeah.
And I think we notice it in business, in everything. We are working with them, right?
Yeah.
Or with people from, I think, we are more relaxed, right?
I think so, yeah.
But the ones who are not relaxed are very good.
There is. Of course, there's different types everywhere, but in general, I would say the Spanish people are much more relaxed.
Yeah, because you have deal with people from all over the world, so
right.
you have such a big experience, and I think that's incredible, right? Because dealing with different profiles is very, very valuable.
Yeah, sure.
So no differences.
No, not too much. I wouldn't say. Just like I said, just ethic is probably not the right word either, because it makes Spanish people sound lazy, which is not true. It's just the priorities, I would say, the priorities in life. Is it to live or is it to work? In Spain, it's to definitely live. So, and that's, like I said, not a bad thing at all.
No,
that's how it should be.
Yeah, and it's not a bad thing. I think that there has to be a balance between life, and work, and at the end of the day, we need to be happy, right? We need to enjoy life, and that sort of thing. But we really felt in love with the US soul, the making efforts, doing things right.
And I wouldn't say it's the whole of the US either. It's New York, it's Miami. It's around the east and west coast. The people in the middle are more relaxed, I would say.
Yeah.
So you don't get that same work priority in Alabama or somewhere like that as you would in New York.
Yeah. Okay, so I think that's all. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
It's been a pleasure, having you, a great executive here in Zaragoza is, it's a pleasure and a privilege as well.
Thank you. Yep.
And thank you. I hope you enjoy it.
Thanks.
I hope our viewers enjoy it as well. And have a good time and keep pushing hard.
Yeah, I will. Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Talk to you soon.